Hi, I'm Claire. I'm a closing attorney here in Atlanta. Today I just wanted to briefly talk about the questions that I get frequently from the seller when I conduct real estate closing, and it's about taxes. So when sellers sign their documents, which is not that many, buyer signs most of the documents, but they'll say, hey, do you know how much taxes I have to pay when I sell this property? Well, I don't know, because everybody's situation is different, your base is different, your expenses are different, but I just wanted to briefly talk about two IRS code that mainly applies when you sell your primary or your investment house. I just wanted to give you a quick disclaimer. So like I just said, everyone's case is unique. So if you have any specific questions, please consult with your own attorney or your tax advisor. So in general, when you sell your real property, there are two main tax code that could apply. First one is IRS code 121 and second one is IRS code 1031. The first one, what we commonly call as a primary residence exclusion is, it just simply says from the date of a closing, you look back 5 years, and if you live in the house at least 2 years as a primary residence, and if that's the case, if you're a joint filer, you get to exclude up to $500,000 in capital gain taxes, and if you're a single filer, up to $250,000 in capital gain taxes. So which is really powerful tool. That's why most people say that, when you sell your house, you really don't have to pay any taxes. Yes, that is, for the most part, it is true statement when you sell your primary residence. Second scenario is when you sell your investment property. Let's say hypothetically, this person bought a rental house for $300,000. Now they're selling it for $700,000. So that person actually has a choice. They could sell the property, pay the capital gain taxes, or if they want to continue to invest, they could defer taxes by doing 1031 exchange. So what is a 1031 tax defer exchange? So I'm native Korean, so there's an old Korean saying that if discipline is coming your way, you just get it out of your way. So if you compare your obligation to pay taxes, I guess a capital gain tax as a discipline, 1031 does exactly opposite of that Korean saying, you face the music fast. You defer your discipline. So as long as you do 1031, as long as you keep investing, you get to defer taxes. So there are three types of a 1031. The first one is swap. Second one is delay or simultaneous exchange. Third one is reverse 1031. Swap. So what is a swap? So it's actually really simple. A and B, they both own the property. They just simply exchange the property with each other without any money being involved. So in order for swap exchange to take place, they both have to agree what the value of the property is, and it's sort of an even exchange. I personally have never seen anyone really doing a swap exchange because I think it's really hard for individuals to agree what their properties are worth. I would think my property is worth more than your property. That's just a human nature. So I think it's just really hard for both parties to just completely agree to just switch or swap the property with full understanding of what the value of each other's properties are. So like I said, I've never personally seen it, but it could be done. The second one is a regular exchange. Some people call it delay exchange, and some people call it simultaneous exchange. So this is how the regular 1031 works. Investor A sell the property, and within 45 days from the date of that sale, you identify potential replacement property that you want to buy. From 180 days from the date of initial sale, you buy a replacement property. That way you get to defer taxes. Sounds really simple, and it's actually not that complicated, but you do have to make sure that you don't make these common mistakes. And these are the common mistakes that I see people make. And first one is incorrect calculation of the dates. So the IRS code says you sell the property A, you identify within 45 from the date of a sale, and you have 180 days from the initial sale to complete the replacement closing. Well, if you actually read the IRS code carefully, it says 180 days from the date of initial sale or when your tax is due. So let's say hypothetically you sold your A property on October 15th or thereafter. So because the tax payment is due in April 15th, you don't necessarily have a full 180 days. So if that's the case, you need to tell your CPA to file the extension for you. So you have a benefit of a full 180 days to close on your replacement property. Another common mistake that I see people make is continuity in title. So let's say if you sell the property A and that was under your husband's name, when you buy the replacement property B, it has to be under your husband's name. It cannot be under your wife's name, even though you guys do joint filing. The name of a person who sold the property A also has to be on the replacement property B, and IRS says that the tax ID or social security number has to be identical. The other mistake that I see frequently is that people forget to, well, tell their closing attorney or a realtor that they wish to do 1031. So reverse 1031 does not mean you go ahead and do the closing, get that money in your pocket, go back and buy the replacement property B and say, now that's a reverse. That's not how that works. 1031 law specifically states once that money is in your pocket, there's no more 1031. That's not what the reverse 1031 means, okay? So it's really important for you to tell your realtor and your closing attorney if you wish to do 1031 for them to arrange for 1031 prior to closing. So at the time of a closing, your contract is assigned and the closing statement reflects the name of a 1031 company as a seller. Lastly, I'm going to briefly talk about what the reverse 1031 is. You rarely see anyone doing reverse 1031. Number one, it's pre-complicated, and number two, the cost of setting up reverse 1031 could be close to $10,000, and at the end of the day, it might just not be worth it for residential property or shopping center. So it's mainly reserved for a group of investors who's flipping apartment complex or a huge real property portfolio. So just a quick illustration of how that works is like this. So group of investors, they're under contract to sell apartment complex called property A, and they're under contract to also buy property B. There was some delay in this closing and they don't want to lose opportunity to acquire property B. So the investors come up with their own cash, buy the property B, but they park title with a 1031, and once they finish closing in property A, the 1031 company will give that title back to the investors. I know it sounds really complicated. 95% of time, you never will see reverse 1031. So it's just for your information only, and I know that it's probably giving you lots of headache thinking about all these different terms, but thanks for joining me today, and next time when we meet, we're going to talk about how the eviction process works in the state of Georgia. Thank you.